Warning. This is not a relaxing background video. This is not just another spiritual explanation about colors and spinning wheels. What you're about to hear can reorganize the way you feel, the way you think, and possibly the kind of life you attract, if you decide to use it. So before we go any further, I want you to do something simples, but serio. Choose. Are you here so por curiosidade? Or because, deep down, you're tired of living the same emotional story over and over again? If you stay with me until the end of this video, you're going to understand something that most people never realmente comprehend about chakras. They are not only mystical centers from ancient traditions. They are centers of energy and information that map your biology, your emotional patterns, and the electromagnetic field all around your body. And once you understand them, once you learn how to move energy through them, your life does not stay neutral. It shifts. That's why this video comes with a warning. Because when you really understand what's going on in your energy centers, you can't keep fingiendo que no sabe. You start to ver a ligacao entre. The argument that repeats in every relationship. The fear that always appears when you're about to dar un paso grande. The same financial drama that parece perseguir vos a anos. The strange anxiety that aparece do nada. In the same situations, again and again. What if all of that is not who you are? But where you're living, energetically, in your own body? Right now, as you watch this, your attention is sitting somewhere. Maybe in your gut, tight, preparing for the next problem. Maybe in your chest, pesado, cargando maguas de años atrás. Maybe in your head, spinning, trying to controlar cada detalle do futuro. Joe Dispenza costuma dizer que cada pensamento gera uma emoção. Cada emoção muda a química do corpo. Essa química repetida vira o hábito, que vira uma personalidade, que vira o seu destino. The chakras, in this visao, are like stations where that whole story is armazenada. Medo de não sobreviver. Culpa por sentir prazer. Necesidade de controlar tudo. Coracao fechado para não ser ferido de novo. Voz presa. Palabras que você nunca dice. Intuica o ignorada. É aquele sentimento silencioso de estar desconectado de algo maior. Anderes de shocking part. You can pass a sentir el aifta impreso nos mesmos 2 ou 3 centros de energia. Você embelece. Muda de cidade. Muda de trabalho. Muda de parceiro. Mas a energia continua parada no mesmo lugar. That's why some people keep vivendo as mesmas cenas, só com personagens diferentes. They think it's karma, azar, destino ruim. Na verdade, muitas vezes, é programação energética. In this video, inspired by the work of Joe Dispenza, we're going to olhar para os seus chakras de um jeito que talvez você nunca tenha visto. Not as colorful drawings on Instagram, but as active centers that influence. How safe you feel in the world. How you lida com prazer, desejo e culpa. How much power ou impotência você sente diante da vida. How open your heart really is. How honest you are with yourself. How clearly you enxerga além da ilusão. And how deeply you feel conectado a algo maior do que você. We're going to talk about why so many pessoas estão presas nos 3 primeiros centros, vivendo em modo de sobrevivência. We're going to talk about what happens quando a energia começa a subir para os centros superiores, e você passa do modo de sobrevivência para o modo de criacao. And we're going to talk about the dangers of doing this sem responsabilidade, sem equilíbrio, sem entender o que está realmente acontecendo. Because yes, there are perigos. When you start moving energy that was stuck por anos, old memories can voltar. Emotions you never allowed yourself to feel can vir à tona. People might live your life. Opportunities might aparecer de formas que você não esperava. And a part of you, the part that was acostumada a sobreviver, vai tentar puxar você de volta para o velo normal. That's why this is not entertainment. This is not for assistir deitado, escrollando o celular, respondendo mensagem ao mesmo tempo. Se você quiser, you can treat this video like any other and forget 90% of what you hear in the next 40 minutes. But if you decide to really listen, to notice your own reactions, to perceber em qual parte do corpo você sente cada coisa que eu vou descrever, you may discover que a sua vida não é tão aleatória quanto parece. In a few moments, we begin by answering a simple, What profunda question. What are chakras, really? In this perspective, and why does entender isso mudar tanta coisa? We're not going to ficar presos en teoria difícil. I'm going to falar com você como se estivesse sentado na sua frente, explicando com calma, com exemplos reais, com perguntas que talvez ninguém tenha feito para você ainda. And the goal is not to make you believe in anything. The goal is to give you awareness. Because when you become aware de onde está a sua energia, você gana uma coisa que talvez não tenha sentido há muito tempo. Escola. Escola de não repetir o mesmo drama emocional. Escola de não explodir do nada sem saber por quê. Escola de não aceitar uma vida onde o seu corpo está sempre em alerta, como se o perigo nunca acabasse. So, eres the warning, one more time. If you keep watching, if you let essa ideias entrar não só na sua mente, mas também na sua experiência, it will be muito difícil continuar vivendo no automático, like before. Because you will start to perceber a ligacao entre energia, emocao e realidade. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. If you're still here, é porque uma parte de você está pronta. Talvez não totalmente. Talvez com medo. Talvez com dúvidas. Mas pronta o suficiente para dar o próximo passo. Então, respire fundo. Sinta o peso do seu corpo onde você está. Perceba o lugar do seu corpo onde a sua atenção pousa naturalmente. É a cabeça, o peito, o estômago, a garganta. Apenas note. Esse é o seu ponto de partida. Agora, vamos começar pelo começo. O que são, de verdade, esses centros de energia que chamamos de chakras, é porque entender isso pode mudar a sua vida inteira. So let's start with a simple question. What are chakras, really? Forget, for a moment, the drawings you've seen on the internet. Forget the perfect little colored circles lined up along a spine. Instead, imagine this. Your body is not just flesh and bone. It's a living field of information, constantly sending and receiving signals. Every thought you think, every emotion you feel, every reaction you repeat, is not used in your head. It shows up somewhere in your body. Your chest tightens, your stomach knots, your throat closes, your jaw locks, your head feels heavy. Those are not random sensations. They're clues. In the perspective we're exploring here, chakras are not just mystical spinning wheels. They are energy centers, concentrated fields where your attention, your emotions, your chemistry, and your memories tend to gather. You can think of them like stations in your body. Each station has a location, a theme, a set of typical emotions, a matching biology, glands, nerves, hormones. When you live the same emotional story over and over again, you keep tuning into the same station. Your attention keeps going back to that same area of the body, until it feels normal to live there. Let's make this very real. Right now, bring your awareness to your body. Not to your thoughts. To your body. Where is your energy sitting? Is it low in your body? Heavy? Like you're always ready to defend yourself or pay attention to what might go wrong? Is it in your belly? Restless? Anxious? Like something bad might happen at cualquier momento? Is it in your chest? Tight? Protected? Como se você não pudesse relaxar profundamente? Is it in your throat? Like there is something you never say out loud? Or is it mostly in your head, spinning, trying to control every detail of tomorrow? You don't need to force an answer. Just notice the first area that feels loud. That's already a hint about which center is more active in your life. Now, let's walk through these centers one by one, in simple language. At the base of your spine, there is the first energy center. This is the center of survival. It's linked to your most primal concerns. Am I safe? Do I belong here? Will I ever know? The emotions that often live here are fear, insecurity, and constant alertness. Even when nothing is happening, your body acts like something cold explode at any moment. Just above that, in the lower abdomen, there is the second energy center. This is the center of pleasure, desire, and emotional connection. Here we find things like, how do I relate to others? Can I enjoy life without guilt? Do I allow myself to feel? This center holds a lot of our relationship history, our desires, our shame, and the way we handle comfort and escape. Above that, in the area of the stomach, there is the third energy center. This is the center of personal power and control. It's connected with questions like, do I feel capable? Am I in control or always at the mercy of everything? Can I act, decide, and move? Emotions like frustration, anger, helplessness, and the need to control tend to stay here. This is where many people store the feeling of I have todo everything alone. These first three centers are deeply linked to survival. They deal with your body, your territory, your relationships, your sense of power in the world. Most people spend the majority of their lives living here, thinking here, reacting from here, recreating the same chemistry, every single day. Now we move up. In the middle of your chest, there is the fourth energy center, the earth center. Here we are no longer talking about surviving, but about relating from a higher place. Love, compassion, forgiveness, gratitude, connection. This is where you feel the warmth when you truly appreciate someone, and also where you feel the cold, hard weight of old heartbreaks. Above that, at the throat, there is the fifth energy center. This is the center of expression and truth. It's connected to, what do I say? What do I swallow? What do I hide? Can I be honest about who I am? Here more the courage to speak your truth, or the habit of silencing yourself. In the center of your head, slightly above the line between your eyebrows, is the sixth energy center, often called the third eye. This is the center of perception and insight. It's related to how you see the world. Are you trapped in the same old story? Or can you see new possibilities, new meanings, new perspectives? And above all of them, at the top of your head, there is the seventh energy center. This is the center of connection with something greater, whatever that means to you. It's not just about religion or beliefs. It's about a felt sense that you're not alone, not separate, not meaningless. It's about feeling connected to life itself. So, 7 centers. From survival at the base, to transcendence at the top. But it is what really matters. You are not just a person with 7 chakras. You are a person who tends to live in 1, 2, maybe 3 of these centers most of the time. And wherever your energy constantly returns, that place becomes your home emotionally. If your energy is always trapped in the first center, the world feels dangerous. If it's stuck in the second, you might repeat the same emotional cycles in relationships. If it's glued to the third, you make life between anger and anxiety, always trying to keep everything under control. If your energy begins to move to the earth, life slowly stops being used about me versus the world and starts to feel like me in connection with the world. If it rises to the throat, you feel a need to be more authentic, even if it scares people. If it moves to the higher centers, you begin to sense that something much bigger is happening through you, not just to you. In Joe Dispenza's perspective, these centers are not just symbolic. They correlate with real glands, real hormones, real nerve plexuses. When you live in chronic fear, the chemistry of your survival centers is activated over and over again. Your body learns to be on alert. Your hormones match that story. When you start to generate emotions like love, gratitude, and appreciation consistently, the earth center begins to organize your energy differently. Your brain and the earth can come into a more coherent rhythm. The feel around your body changes. You don't need to memorize any of this. You don't need to believe it blindly either. What you need, first, is awareness. So let's make this even more personal. Close your eyes for a moment, if you can. If not, you soften your gaze. Ask yourself, gently, when you wake up in the morning, what is the first emotion that usually shows up? Is it worry? Is it dread? Is it rush, pressure, tension? Is it emptiness? Is it a quiet gratitude? Is it excitement? Now notice where that feeling appears in your body. Does worry hit you in the stomach? Does sadness sit on your chest? Does anger burn in your solar plexus? Does fear feel like your legs are hollow? Does shame wash over your lower belly? This is not random. This is your energy center showing you where you have been living. Now ask yourself another question. What kind of story do I tell myself about life, over and over again? Life is hard. People can't be trusted. Nothing ever works out for me. You always get hit in relationships. I have to be strong all the time. I don't have what it takes. No one really sees me. These stories are not used thoughts. They are programs. And they have a location in your body. Every time you repeat them, you activate the same center. You release the same chemistry. You reinforce the same identity. That is what it means to be energetically stuck in a chakra. The good news is, if you can become aware of it, you can begin to shift it. But there is something you need to understand first. Most of us were not taught to move beyond survival. We were trained to worry, to compete, to brace for impact. We have a whole generations living with their energy trapped in the first three centers, calling it normal life. So before we talk about moving energy up, about awakening your centers, about creating instead of surviving, we need to get very honest about one thing. Where have you actually been living, energetically, until now? Not where you wished you were. Not where you pretend to be on social media. Where your body really is, most of the time. If you can answer that with sincerity, without judgment, you've already given a huge step. Because you can change a pattern you refuse to see. In the next part, we're going to go much deeper into these three lower centers, the survival centers, and uncover how they silently shape your relationships, your health, your money, and your sense of self. And more important, how you can begin to step out of that invisible prison. But for now, just carry this awareness with you. Your life is not driven only by what you consciously decide. It is driven by where your energy is living. And today, for the first time maybe, you're starting to see that map. Let's talk about something most people never realize. You can have an adult body, a job, bills, responsibilities, but energetically, you might still be living like a scared child. And most of the time, that has everything to do with the three lower energy centers, the survival centers. Think of them like three floors of the same building. On the first floor, all the alarms are about survival. On the second floor, all the alarms are about pleasure and emotional drama. On the third floor, all the alarms are about control, power, and ego. If you spend most of your life nos mesmos andares, listening to the same alarms, you start to believe that this is just how life is. But it's not. It's just where you've been living. Let's go one by one. The first center, at the base of your spine, is the center of survival. This is where your most primal instincts live. Am I safe? Will I be okay tomorrow? Do I have enough? It's wired into your nervous system, your adrenal glands, your fight-or-flight response. When this center is overactive or constantly triggered, life feels like a continuous emergency. Have you ever noticed how some people are always esperando o paie? Before anything even happens, they were already thinking, what if it goes wrong? What if I lose? What if they leave? What if I don't have enough? Their body is living in anticipation of danger, even when the danger is only in their imagination. The heart might be beating faster. The muscles stay tense. Sleep is light and restless. Thoughts are repetitive. You have to be careful. You have to be careful. You have to be careful. It don't matter how much money they make, how many things they have, how many proofs of safety life gives them. Instead, the alarm in the first center never really turns off. So they keep procreating situations that match that state, last-minute crises, financial chaos, relationships that feel unstable, hopes that keep them in constant fear of losing everything. It's not that they are unlucky. It's that their energy is tuned to survival, and life mirrors that frequency back. Now, move a little bigger in your body, to the lower abdomen. Here we find the second energy center, the center of pleasure, desire, and emotional connection. This is where a lot of our relational history is stored. Attraction, rejection, shame, guilt, abandonment, seduction, biases. This center asks questions like, do I deserve pleasure? Can I enjoy life without paying for it depois? Do I feel wanted, desired, chosen? How do I handle my emotions when I get closer to someone? If you've been hit in relationships, if you've been betrayed, rejected, or humiliated, this area learns quickly. It remembers. Some people, without even persevere, start to use pleasure as escape. Food, sex, screens, shopping, fantasy, drama. Anything that can give a quick hit of relief, a temporary anesthetic against emptiness or pain. Others go in the opposite direction. They shut down. They don't allow themselves to feel too much, to want too much, to get too close. And the story in their mind becomes things like, everything I trust, I get hit. No one ever does. I am too much. I am not enough. I have todo something to be chosen. This center then becomes a storm of emotional highs and lows. One day there is passion, intensity, obsession. On the next, there is cold distance, games, silence, punishment. People stuck here often repeat the same relations a pattern with different phases. The same jealousy. The same fear of abandonment. The same toxic dynamics. The same apologies. They say things like, you don't know why. You always attract the same kind of person. But it's not random. It's the second center searching unconsciously for a familiar emotional drug. Now move a little again, to the area of your stomach, your solar plexus. This is the third energy center, the center of personal power and control. Here life questions like, am I capable? Do I matter? Do I get to choose? What's in charge, me or the world? When this center is out of balance, it can show up into extremes. On one side, there is powerlessness. I can't do anything about my life. I never get what I want. Life happens to me, not through me. On the other side, there is over-control. I have to manage everything. If I don't control, it will all fall apart. I don't trust anyone to handle things right. Both states are exhausting. This is the center that often burns with anger, frustration, and resentment. That tight pressure in your stomach when something doesn't go your way. That react when someone crosses your boundary and you don't say anything, but instead you're revoiling. In this center, people create identities like the one who takes care of everyone, the one who sacrifices, the one who never asks for help, the one who explodes out of nowhere, the one who has to win every argument. And guess what? Life responds. The more you vibrate in this energy of constant fight, competition, and control, the more you find situations to prove that you do have to fight, compete, and control. You see, the first center says, the world is dangerous. The second center says, love is unstable. The third center says, I am alone against everything. Together, they create a version of life where you're always defending, reacting, bracing for impact. Now it is something Joe Dispenza emphasizes a lot. When you live over and over again in the same emotional status, fear, anger, guilt, shame, anxiety, your body becomes chemically addicted to those emotions. The body literally learns, this is what it feels like to be me. So, if one day you wake up and there is no crisis, no problem, no drama, you may think that's good. But for a body addicted to survival, that calm feels strange. It feels wrong. It feels empty. So, without noticing, you start to think, something's off. Something bad is going to happen. This is too good to be true. You look for what's missing. You check your phone for bad news. You remember that conversation that bothered you. You imagine a problem that doesn't exist yet. In seconds, you're back in the familiar emotion. Your mind calls it realism. Your body calls it home. That's what it means to be stuck in the survival centers. You don't just feel emotions. You need them to feel like yourself. Fear, worry, jealousy, anger, drama. They become your identity. So even when you say you want peace, love, abundance, freedom, if your body is programmed for danger, scarcity, and control, your energy will sabotage anything that doesn't match that pattern. You will find a way to lose the opportunity, to push away the person, to delay the project, to start an argument out of nowhere. Not because you're broken, but because survival has been running the show. Let's make this even more concrete. Imagine someone whose first center is always active. They grew up in a home where there was never enough money, stability, emotional presence. They watched their parents worry, fight, sacrifice, survive. Now, as an adult, they might live in a different reality. They might have a hope, some comfort, opportunities. But inside, nothing changed. They still buy things impulsively to feel a quick relief, then panic at the end of the month. They still say yes to everything por miedo de perder. They accept any kind of hope, any kind of treatment, because their body is terrified of feeling unsafe. If they suddenly get more money, more opportunity, more stability, very often, they unconsciously find gusto come back to the level of stress their nervous system is used to. They call it bad luck. In reality, it's energy returning to the first center. Now imagine someone stuck in the second center. They always end up in relationships where they feel used, ignored, or emotionally manipulated. At the beginning, there is always intense attraction. The chemistry is strong. The highs are amazing. But under the surface, there is a familiar feeling. It might be abandoned. It might not be enough. It might lose this person. They become jealous, needy, controlling, or they shut down, pull away, punished. They don't communicate what they really feel. They test the other person. They reply the same child wants with a new partner. And when, inevitably, the relationship collapses or becomes unhealthy, their body says, see, I know it. This is what love is. This is how it always ends. And the second center gets even more charged with pain, guilt, and shame, waiting for the next person to repeat the same movie. Now imagine someone stuck in the third center. Their entire identity is built on performance, control, and external validation. They need to be strong, competent, in charge. They don't ask for help. They feel responsible for everything and everyone. If they were not solving a problem, they feel useless. If they were not busy, they feel guilty. If they were not in control, they feel threatened. So they live with a constant warning in the stomach, a background rage, a permanent sense of not enough. They overwork. They overcommit. They overreact. And when their body finally says enough through burnout, illness, or collapse, they feel like failures. They blame themselves. They decide their soul debe control even more. The third center learns that power equals tension. That leadership equals suffering. That responsibility equals self-abandonment. It is the hardest part to accept. When we are stuck in these three centers, we start to call this entire emotional prison by a simple name. Me. This is just who I am. I'm anxious. I'm jealous. I'm angry. I'm controlling. I'm insecure. But in reality, these are not your essence. These are a status, repeated so many times that they hardened into identity. The survival centers are important. They were not bad. You need them. They kept you alive, functional, grounded in the world. The problem is not having them. The problem is building your entire life around them. If your attention ever rises above these centers, your life will always be about avoiding danger, chasing or escaping pleasure, fighting for power, status, or control. You can talk about spirituality, manifestation, higher consciousness, but if your energy keeps sinking back into the same fear, same drama, same control, nothing really changes. Because deep down, your body doesn't believe it's safe to move beyond survival. So let me ask you an uncomfortable question. If you're honest with yourself, which of these centers feels most like home for you right now? Is it the first, the constant fear of not being safe, not having enough, not being okay? Is it the second, the roller coaster of emotional dependency, guilt, shame, seduction, and drama? Is it the third, the burning need to control, to prove yourself, to never let your guard down? You don't have to say it out loud. You don't have to tell anyone. But you need to tell yourself the truth. Because awareness is the first crack in the walls of this invisible prison. When you say, I am not just an anxious person, I am a consciousness stuck in survival, you create a space. When you say, I am not just toxic in love, I am a nervous system repeating what it learned, you create possibility. When you say, I'm not used controlling. I'm afraid of surrendering. You create choice. And that's where transformation starts. Not with forcing yourself to be positive. Not with pretending you're vital. But with admitting, yes, I've been living in survival. My body has been running my life. And I'm ready to learn another way. In the next part, we're going to talk about that other way. We explore what happens when your energy begins to rise from survival into the higher centers, the heart, the throat, the mind, the sense of connection with something greater. We talk about how creation feels different from survival, how coherence feels different from chaos, how love feels different from constant defense. But for now, just let it sink in. You are not your fear. You are not your drama. You are not your need to control everything. You are the one who can observe all of that. And if you can observe, you can change. Up until now, we've been talking about survival. The fear. The drama. The control. Those three lower centers are like gravity, always pulling your attention back down, telling your body, stay alert, stay tense, stay ready. But there is another way to life. A way where your nervous system is not constantly preparing for the worst, where your relationships are not built on fear, where your sense of self is not based on control, performance, or pain. That way begins when your energy starts to rise. Not metaphorically, literally. When your attention, your emotion, and your breath move from the lower centers into the higher ones, you begin to leave the state of survival and enter the state of creation. Let's talk about what that actually means. Imagine, for a moment, that your life is a song. When you're stuck in survival, that song only uses the lowest notes. It's repetitive, heavy, always circling around the same few tones. Fear, worry, jealousy, control, frustration. It's not that the notes are wrong. They're used incomplete. Creation begins when you start to play your notes in your system. Emotions like love, gratitude, compassion, honesty, clarity, trust. Where do those notes come from? From the higher centers. From the heart up. Let's start with the heart. The heart center is not just about romance or nice feelings. It's a powerful switch between two modes of life. Me against the world and me in connection with life. When your energy is trapped in the first three centers, the heart is often closed or heavily armored. You don't feel safe enough to soften. You don't feel safe enough to trust. You don't feel safe enough to forgive. So even if you want love, your body is in defense. The moment someone gets too close, the old alarms ring. They were going to hit me. They were going to leave. They were going to judge who I really am. The heart contracts. Protection takes over. But something profound happens when, little by little, you choose a different response. When instead of feeding the same anger, the same resentment, the same story, you practice something else. Appreciation, forgiveness, understanding, compassion, not as weakness, but as strength. At first, it feels unnatural. Your mind says, why solely feel gratitude? Look at my problems. Your body says, this don't feel like me. I'm not this, soft, punto. But as you bring your attention to the earth, as you breathe into it, as you hold thoughts and images that genuinely evoke appreciation, something starts to unlock. The earth begins to open, even que seja apenas algunos milímetros. And with that opening comes a different kind of intelligence. One that don't come from fear or logic alone. Call it intuition. Call it coherence. Call it inner guidance. You notice the moments when, out of nowhere, you just feel what the right thing to do is, and it's not based on panic, revenge, or ego. That's the heart speaking. Above the heart, in the throat, lives another crucial center, expression. You can't step fully into creation if your truth is locked inside you. If you're always swallowing your words, your needs, your boundaries. If you're always saying yes when your whole body is screaming no. If you're constantly editing yourself, plain small, staying quiet to avoid discomfort, your energy gets stuck. The throat center is where authenticity starts to vibrate. Not perfection. Not always knowing what to say. But a willingness to be real. To say this hurts. This matters to me. I'm not okay with that. I don't want this. I don't want that. This is who I really am. When you begin to open this center, your voice might shake. You might feel like your words are too much. You might fear being judged, rejected, misunderstood. But every honest word you speak breaks a little piece of the old armor. Every time you choose truth over pleasing, you tell your body, we're not living in fear anymore. We're safe enough to be real. That message starts to rise up through your system. Then, we move it to the sixth center, the place of perception. This is where you stop seeing life only through the lens of your wounds. When you're stuck in survival, your mind don't really see reality. It sees threat. It filters everything through the past. What does this remind me of? Where is the danger? How can I protect myself? The sixth center opens when you begin to see from a wider perspective. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? You start to ask, what is this trying to show me? Who do I become if I respond differently? What belief is this situation exposing? You become less reactive and more observant. You notice your old patterns without blindly obeying them. You catch yourself before the automatic explosion, the automatic shutdown, the automatic escape. You pause. You breathe. You choose. That pause is a sign that your energy is no longer trapped apenas nos tres primeros andares. Something in you is washing from above. And the seventh center, at the crown, is where you begin to feel connected to something greater than your personal story. It's where you sense a meaning where before there was only chaos. Where you feel a quiet knowing that you are not completely alone, not completely separate. This don't have to be religious. It don't require any dogma. It can be as simple as sensing. There is a deeper intelligence organizing life. There is a why behind my experiences. I am part of something larger. When this center is more active, you stop trying to control every macroscopic detail. You start working with life, not only against it. You still act. You still decide. You still use your will. But underneath, there is a deeper trust. If I show up honestly, if I align my energy, if I choose your emotions, life will meet me halfway. Now, let's be very clear. Moving from survival to creation is not about abandoning your responsibilities, ignoring danger, or pretending everything is light and love. It's about shifting the place inside you from which you live. You can handle money from fear, or from clarity and trust. You can be in relationships from desperation, or from authenticity and self-respect. You can live, work, and build from control, or from a deeper sense of purpose. The actions might look similar from the outside, but the energy behind them is completely different. Creation happens when your dominant state is no longer panic, defense, or attack, but presence, openness, and conscious choice. So how do you begin to move your energy from the lower centers to the higher ones? Step by step, gently, consistently, not by forcing, but by training your attention and your emotions. Let's do a small experiment together. If you can, sit comfortably. Let your shoulders drop a little. Unclench your jaw. Take a slow breath in through your nose, and let it out gently through your mouth. Again, inhale slowly. Exhale slowly. Now, bring your awareness to the center of your chest. Not as an idea, but as a direct sensation. You might feel warmth. You might feel pressure. You might feel nothing, and that's okay. Just imagine that your breath is moving in and out through your heart area. As you breathe, gently bring to mind one thing, just one, that you can genuinely appreciate right now. It don't have to be you. It could be a person, a moment, a lesson, a small comfort in your life. Let yourself feel even a teeny spark of gratitude for that. Not forced, not exaggerated. Just honest. Keep breathing into your heart with that feeling, for a few moments. If you pay close attention, you might notice that your body begins to change, even slightly. Your shoulders might soften. Your face might relax. Your thoughts might slow down a little. That subtle shift is what it feels like when your energy begins to move into a higher center. Nothing spectacular. No fireworks. Just a quiet reorganization. If you repeated this, day after day, even for 3 minutes, you will be training your body to know a new state. A state that is not based on pure survival. From that state, your decisions start to change. The way you speak changes. The kind of people you attract changes. The way you interpret events changes. You become less fascinated with problems, more interested in possibilities. You can do the same with your throat center. Next time you feel that familiar pressure in your chest or stomach because you're about to stay quiet when you actually want to speak. Notice it. Instead of swallowing your truth automatically, take one conscious breath. Feel the air moving through your throat. And ask yourself, what would honesty sound like in this moment, if he spoke from love instead of fear? You don't have to say it perfectly. You don't have to lecture anyone. Sometimes honesty is used one sentence. I felt hate when that happened. I need more time. I'm not comfortable with this. I actually think differently. Every time you do that, your energy rises. You can also work with the sixth center by changing the questions you ask yourself. When something goes wrong, instead of repeating, why me? Why always me? Try, what pattern is this revealing? How am I being invited to grow here? What will the version of me who is not stuck in survival do in this situation? These questions force your perception to move bigger than the old automatic story. They invite a new level of insight. Here is the key idea. You don't open your chakras once and stay enlightened forever. You practice moving your energy. You practice gratitude until your body recognizes it. You practice honesty until your voice stops checking as much. You practice presence until your mind doesn't drag you back into the same panic as easily. Little by little, the survival mode that once felt natural starts to feel heavy, too expensive, too small for who you're becoming. And creation, that state where you feel more connected, more inspired, more guided, starts to feel more like home. Of course, this process is not a straight line. Some days your heart will feel open, and everything flows. On other days, you will feel like you're back at zero, reacting from the same fear, the same anger, the same old wounds. That's normal. Energy doesn't rise in a perfect curve. It pulsates. The important thing is not never falling back into survival. That's impossible while you're a human. The important thing is noticing faster when you fall, and remembering that you don't have to stay there. Every time you choose a response, even a little eager, you are neurologically and energetically training a new self. A self who is not defined by the past. A self who is no longer addicted to the same emotional suffering. A self who can actually create a different future. This is the bridge between the lower and the higher chakras, between survival and creation. In the next part, we're going to talk about something very important. What happens when your energy truly starts to reorganize, and how that can change your life, your relationships, and your identity. We will look at the signs that your chakras are changing, and also the dangers of this phase if you don't understand what's happening. Because growth is powerful, but it can also be confusing, intense, and destabilizing if you try to rush or force it. For now, just remember, you are not condemned to live your whole life in survival. You have higher centers waiting to be activated. And every breath, every choice, every moment of awareness is a step in that direction. You probably thought that once your chakras started to open, life would instantly feel lighter, softer, more magical. And sometimes, it does. You might have days where your heart feels wide, where gratitude comes easily, where you sense a quiet connection with everything around you. But if you're really moving energy that has been stuck for years, there is another side to this process that almost nobody talks about. It's the part where your old self starts to fall apart. Where your nervous system doesn't take it and know if it should feel relieved or terrified. Where your relationships get shaken. Where your habits no longer fit, but the new ones aren't solid yet. This is what it looks like, in real life, when your chakras begin to reorganize. And this is where the warning becomes very real. Because if you don't understand what's happening, you might sabotage the process, or push so hard that you hate yourself emotionally, mentally, or energetically. Let's walk through the signs and the dangers. One of the first signs that your energy is shifting is emotional. Feelings you talk wordelt with vehin to surface. You may find yourself crying for no reason. You may feel waves of anger or sadness from something that happened years ago. You may suddenly remember moments you hadn't talked about since childhood. It can feel like your head, your gut, your throat are releasing long-stored memories. This is not you getting worse. This is what happens when energy starts to move through centers that were frozen. Picture a river that has been blocked by stones for years. When the water finally begins to flow again, it doesn't just glide peacefully. It pushes, scraps, dislodges, carries debris. The same thing happens inside you. When your heart center begins to open, it might first empty out all the grief and resentment you packed inside. When your second center starts to heal, it might show you every place where guilt, shame, and dependency have been hiding. When your throat begins to wake up, you might suddenly feel the weight of all the times you start silent when you needed to speak. Emotionally, this can be intense. You might think, I thought it was past this. Why am I so sensitive? Why is everything affecting me so much? But in reality, your system is cleansing. The danger here is twofold. 1. You make panic and try to shut everything back down. You distract yourself harder. You overwork. You numb out. You go back to old addictions, food, screens, sex, drama, anything to avoid feeling. 2. You make the opposite. Glorify the pain. You start to identify as the one who is always processing something, and most proud of how deep your suffering goes. You turn healing into a performance. You stay stuck in the storm because it makes you feel special, intense, important. Both extremes kept you from the actual point, feeling what needs to be felt, learning the lesson, and allowing the energy to pass through. Another sign of reorganization is physical. You may feel tingling, ache, or pressure in specific parts of your body, especially along the spine, in the chest, the throat, the head. Your breathing patterns might change. You might feel waves of energy when you meditate or even when you're simply present. Sometimes sleep is effective. You may wake up at strange hours. Your dreams might become more vivid, symbolic, emotional. Your body calls us for different foods, more water, more movement, or more rest. Again, this is not about looking for something wrong with you every time your body feels different. But if you are consistently doing practices that work with your energy centers, and you start noticing a pattern of new sensations, it can be a sign that your system is adjusting. The danger here is obsession. You can easily become hyper-focused on every little sensation, googling every twitch, labeling everything as activation or awakening. You start chasing experiences. I want more tingles. I want to feel energy shooting up my spine. I want fireworks every time I meditate. And if nothing dramatic happens, you feel like it didn't work. This is how people get lost. They confuse intensity with progress. They ignore the quieter signs of transformation, more patience, more honesty, more compassion, and only value what feels supernatural. Used without moderation, this obsession can dysregulate your nervous system. You push too hard. You meditate for hours without integration. You neglect your body's basic needs. You use spiritual practice like a stimulant, CHAKRAS. Working with your chakras soul make you more embodied, more grounded, more present, not less. Then there is the world outside of you. When your chakras begin to reorganize, your relationships and circumstances often do too. People who match your old energy might start to feel different. Conversations that you said to tolerate become irritating. Environments that you once get normal, now feel heavy or draining. You might feel a growing need for honesty, simplicity, and depth. Sometimes, conflicts intensify before they dissolve. Patterns you always ignored suddenly become impossible to overlook. The friend who only calls when they need something. The partner who never really listens. The hope that constantly violates your boundaries. When your energy rises, you are no longer a match for the same level of disrespect, inauthenticity, or self-betrayal. Life responds by bringing the truth to the surface. This can look like arguments that reveal what had been hidden for years. Quiet realizations that this is not for me anymore. Opportunities to leave what is misaligned, and the fear that follows. Here, the danger is impulsiveness or denial. On one side, you make burn everything down overnight. You quit your job without any plan because the energy feels wrong. You in every relationship that challenges you and call it protecting my vibration. You refuse any discomfort and label it a low frequency. On the other side, you mix all the things and still pretend nothing is happening. You stay where you're shrinking. You stay silent where you need to speak. You keep the same habits while hoping for a different life. Neither extreme answers what's truly happening. Growth asks for courage, but also discernment. Not every uncomfortable situation is toxic. Sometimes your resistance is used an old chakra pattern fighting to stay in charge. Another powerful sign that your energy centers are changing is a shift in identity. You may wake up and think, I don't know who I am anymore. Things you said to love no longer satisfy you. Opinions you defended strongly now feel too small. Roles you played, the caretaker, the strong one, the funny one, the quiet one, no longer fit. At first, this can feel terrifying. If you are not your old stories, if you are not your trauma, if you are not your survival strategies, then who are you? This in-between phase is like standing in a doorway. Behind you, the old house is familiar, even if it's painful. In front of you, the new landscape is real, but not yet solid. You might feel lost. You might feel alone. You might feel like no one understands what you are going through. The danger here is to rush and grab a new identity used to feel safe. You go from the broken one to the spiritual one. From the victim to the awakened healer. From the abandoned one to the chosen one. Different level, same dependency. Instead of resting in the openness and allowing a deeper, more authentic self to emerge, you build a new mask, distinct, spiritual. True reorganization makes you simpler, not more grandiose. More humble, not more superior. If working with your chakras makes you look down on others, brag about your awakening, or secretly feel more evolved than people around you, you are not expanding. You are inflating. There is one more subtle danger, spiritual bypass. When things get intense, emotionally, physically, relationally, it's tempting to use these concepts as an escape from reality. You don't need therapy. You just need to raise my vibration. You don't need to set boundaries. You just send love energetically. You don't need to talk about how I hate you. You just meditate on my earth. This is how people use chakras to avoid taking responsibility. Energy work is powerful, but it does not replace the very human work of having difficult conversations, getting professional support when needed, taking care of your body, showing up for your commitments, repairing harm where you caused it. If your spiritual practice is not making you more honest, more responsible, and more present in your real life, something is off. The point is not to float above your problems. The point is to make them from a different state. So how do you navigate this reorganization safely? First, by respecting your limits. Use because you can sit in meditation for 2 hours pushing your energy upward doente and you soul. Use because someone online talks about dramatic Kundalini experiences doente and that's the standard. There is nothing wrong with gentle, consistent practice. 10 minutes of presence can sometimes do more for your system than 1 hour of forced intensity. Second, by staying grounded. Eat, sleep, move your body, touch the earth, talk to real people. Do normal, simple things. Your body is not an obstacle. It is your anchor. Third, by seeking support when necessary. If all trauma is surfacing and you feel overwhelmed, confused, or destabilized, it's not weakness to ask for help. A good therapist, a trusted mentor, a grounded friend can help you differentiate between healing and harm, between integration and overlook. Fourth, by being radically honest with yourself. Are you using your practices to face your life more fully, or to avoid it? Are you willing to feel and process what rises, or are you chasing the next thing? Are you more patient, more kind, more authentic than before, or just more attached to your image as a spiritual person? Only you can answer. Reorganizing your chakras is not a cute aesthetic. It is a deep renovation of your inner house. Old walls crack. Old furniture is thrown out. Old rooms are repainted. For a while, it looks worse before it looks better. There is dust, noise, confusion. But if you respect the process, if you move with awareness and moderation, if you stay humble and grounded, something extraordinary starts to happen. Your inner house begins to feel like a place you actually went to live. Your survival centers calm down. Your head becomes a real, felt center of your life. Your voice aligns with your truth. Your mind opens to new possibilities. Your sense of self is less fragile, less reactive, less desperate. You begin to recognize yourself not as the person you were forced to become, but as the person you were always capable of being. And that is when working with your chakras stops being a fascination and becomes a way of living. In the final part, we're going to bring all of this together. We talk about what it really means to use with moderation, how to approach your chakras with responsibility, and a simple way to integrate this into daily life without burning out, bypassing, or losing yourself. Porque despertar é poderoso, mas sem direcao, pode virar confusao. Com direcao, pode virar libertacao. There is in this video started with a warning. Not because chakras are dangerous by nature. Not because energy work is evil or forbidden. But because you are not playing with ideas. You are playing with who you are becoming. If you treat this like entertainment, you stay where you are. If you treat this like a magic shortcut, you can actually get more lost. If you treat this like a serious tool, with respect and moderation, your life can change in ways that are deep, stable, and real. So let's talk about what it really means to understand the chakras and use with moderation. First, understand this. Your nervous system is not a machine. It is not meant to be hacked, shacked, forced, and pushed every single day. Your energy centers are not buttons you press for instant power. They hold years of history, emotion, belief, and identity. So the question is not, how fast can I open everything? The real question is, how consciously can I walk this path so that I don't burn, collapse, or lose myself along the way? Moderation is not about going slow out of fear. It's about going steady out of wisdom. Let's start with intentions. Before you do any practice, any meditation, any breath work, ask yourself honestly, why am I doing this? Is it because you want to escape your life? Is it because you want to feel special, powerful, superior? Is it because you open energy wheels all problems you refuse to face? Is it because you're chasing a mystical experience to avoid your pain? Or is it because you truly want to become more conscious, more loving, more honest, more alive? If your intention is escape, your practice will become another addiction. If your intention is superiority, your practice will inflate your ego. If your intention is genuine transformation, your practice will humble you and empower you at the same time. Working with your chakras is not about getting more status, more gifts, more attention. It's about becoming true. Sometimes that means losing things you thought you needed, roles, dynamics, illusions, defenses. Moderation begins when you dare to set a simple, clear intention. I am doing this to become more present, more responsible, and more aligned with who I really am. Not to escape reality, but to meet it from a higher place. Second, honor your body. You can't outrun your biology. You live in a body with limits, needs, rhythms. If you meditate for an hour but sleep 3, your practice is unbalanced. If you talk about energy all day but barely drink water, barely move, barely breathe fully, you are ignoring your foundation. If you chase visions and tingles while your body is exhausted, undernourished, stressed, your system will eventually protest. Moderation means you don't sacrifice your body in the name of spirituality. Eat real food as often as you can. Drink water. Get sunlight. Stretch. Wake. Breathe deeply. Rest. These are not basic compared to chakras. They are the ground on which all true energetic work stands. A regulated nervous system receives and integrates spiritual insight much better than a system that is constantly at its limit. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to follow strict diets or rules. You simply have to remember, you are not just working with energy. You are working with a living, sensitive, intelligent body. Treat it like an ally, not an obstacle. Third, respect your pace. Not everyone needs the same intensity. Not everyone is ready for the same practices at the same time. You do not know what someone else has already processed, fast, or healed. You don't know how many years they've spent working on their emotions, their trauma, their mind. Comparing your journey to someone else's can be deeply unfair to yourself. Just because someone wakes up at 4 de la mañana, takes y se vas, does 90 minutes of breathwork, and 3 advanced meditations, does not mean that's what you need. For some people, the bravest step is not a tour practice. It's 5 honest minutes of feeling their own air without running away. Meditation sounds like this. It will practice in a way that challenges me, but does not break me. It will go to my edge, but not beyond my capacity to integrate. Any practice that leaves you constantly dissociated, numb, panicked, or unable to function is not high-level spirituality. It's overload. Progress is not measured by how extreme your practices are. It's measured by how much more conscious, kind, and coherent you become. Force, integrate, don't use experience. You make have powerful meditations. You make feel energy rising. You make cry, shake, see images, feel waves of love or peace. But the real question is always the same. What changes when you get up from the cushion? Do you speak differently? Do you listen differently? Do you handle conflict differently? Do you treat your body differently? Do you say no when before you will betray yourself? Do you say yes where before you were ruled by fear? If your practice does not touch your daily life, it becomes spiritual entertainment. You collect experiences like trophies, but your patterns remain intact. Meditation means giving yourself time to life what you experienced. Maybe today, you are the heart open in meditation. Beautiful. Meditation says, tonight, I will practice keeping my heart a little more open in a real conversation, not only in my imagination. Maybe you felt energy in your throat, a desire to speak your truth. Meditation says, tomorrow, I will choose one conversation where it will be a little more honest than it usually am. Maybe your perception expanded, and you saw a pattern clearly. Meditation says, I will adjust one concrete behavior to reflect that new awareness. This is how energy work stops being fantasy and becomes character. Fifth, know when to ask for help. Chakras are connected to your deepest memories and patterns. Sometimes, moving that energy will bring up trauma, grief, fear, or right that you are not meant to handle alone. There is no weakness inside. You need support with this. A trance therapist, counselor, or trauma-informed guide can help you navigate what surfaces, so you don't drown in it or misinterpret it. It is spiritual maturity to recognize when your inner resources are not enough. Meditation is not doing everything alone. Meditation is knowing your limits and honoring them. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do for your chakras is not another ritual, but one honest session where you finally give words to what has lived silently in your body for years. Now, let's bring this down to something practical. Here is a simple daily protocol. Not dramatic, not extreme, but powerful if you show up consistently. 3 conscious minutes of breath. 11 a day. Stop and breathe slowly. In and out, counting longer on the exhale. This alone begins to tell your survival centers, we are safe right now. 2 1 center at a time. Instead of trying to fix all 7 chakras in 1 week, choose a focus. For example, for 1 week, gently observe your first center. Notice every time fear of safety and not enough shows up. Notice how your body reacts. Tension, racing thoughts, shallow breath. When you notice it, place a hand near the base of your spine or your lower belly. Breathe slowly. And tell yourself, in this moment, I am safe enough to breathe. Next week, you make focus on the earth. Notice where you close, where you hold grudges, where you want to protect yourself. When you catch it, soften your shoulders, breathe into your chest, and invite a small feeling of appreciation for something real in your life. 1 center at a time. Not in a hurry, but with sincerity. 3 1 emotion to cultivate. Instead of forcing yourself to feel every vibration emotional at once, Choose one top practice. Maybe this season is about gratitude, or self-respect, or compassion, or trust. Throughout your day, ask, how would it think, speak, or act if it was rooted in this emotion right now? Small choices adapt. A little less sarcasm, a little more honesty, a little less self-abandonment, a little more boundary, a little less suspicion, a little more curiosity. You are training a new energetic baseline. 4. Page of awareness. At night, write just a few lines. Where was your energy living today? First, center, fear, scarcity. Second, drama, guilt, craving. Third, control, ego, tension. Or did you touch the earth, the throat, the ego center 7 for a moment? Don't judge. Just record. Over time, you will see patterns. You will see progress. You will see that some days you fall, some days you rise, but the general direction begins to shift. This is Mother action. Small, honest, repeated actions. Finally, let's talk about the most important kind of Mother action. Mother action with your own self-judgment. You are not going to do this perfectly. You will lose your temper sometimes. You will go back into old relationships, old habits, old fears. You will forget everything you know and act from pure survival. And then, afterward, you may want to punish yourself. I soul be beyond this. I'm such a fraud. I never change. What Harsen is does not open your chakras. Sham does not raise your energy. Self-hatred does not make you more conscious. If you really want to move your energy into ego centers, you have to include yourself in your compassion. Mother action means not expecting yourself to become a new person overnight. It means celebrating subtle shifts. It means forgiving yourself when you fall, and getting up a little faster than before. Every time you choose curiosity over self-attack, your heart opens a little. Every time you take responsibility without drowning in guilt, your solar plexus reorganizes. Every time you admit your truth kindly, your throat strengthens. This is the work. Quiet, ordinary, depth. So here you are. You've looked at survival. You've looked at the ego centers. You've looked at the messy middle, where everything starts to reorganize. Now you understand why this comes with a warning. Because once you see your own map, once you recognize where you've been living energetically, you can't pretend it's a loose bad luck anymore. You start to see patterns. You start to notice your own choices. You start to feel the difference between reacting from an old wound and responding from a new state. That awareness is powerful. Used with maturity, it can reshape your entire life. Used without Mother action, it can become another escape, another addiction, another identity. So as you leave this video, remember, you don't have to fix all your chakras. You don't have to lose your awakening. You don't have to become a different person by tomorrow morning. You only have to take one honest step at a time. One breath, one choice, one conversation, one act of courage, one moment where you say, it will not repeat this pattern again, not like before. Your energy will follow. Your centers will adjust. Your life, slowly and surely, will begin to reflect the new place you are living from. Not just in theory, not just in meditation, but in the way you love, work, speak, rest, and exist in the world. Use this with Mother action. Use this with respect. Use this with art. And watch, patiently, as understanding your chakras stops being information and becomes transformation.